Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, October 7th, 2025. So we start off with Brady and Sarah. So basically, Brady is there to await the repeat of the DNA results, and turns out that Tate is still not a match. But he's sharing that with Sarah as well, because Sarah also said that she's in a better mood. She and Xander are going to couples therapy, which she says is mandatory for the betterment of their marriage. You know that she holds the cards in everything that has to do with them and their marriage. So whatever she says goes, and Xander is just gonna turn like a puppet and do what she wants. So, anyways, Brady shares with her what happened with the results, and he's saying over and over that Tate is not a match, but also that it couldn't be Tate and Sophia's baby. And I'm saying, even if Tate is not a match, what about Sophia? Like, you didn't test anything for her, so it could still be her baby, but with a different guy, which we've been hearing circulate on social media for a long while, that Tate is not the daddy and maybe Aaron is the daddy. So, anyways, Sarah remembers her conversation with Sophia, that she knows that she's lying about the baby's information and where the baby was actually sent or given away to. So now she's thinking maybe she needs to do some investigation. So she said that she's gone back to her shift, and Brady said that he's going to talk to Steve to figure out the next step in finding out what happens to Tate baby. So Sarah used that time to also take off her medical coat and go outside. Possibly she's going to talk to Sophia, because we know that's also in the spoilers coming up for this week. So Theo is startled by Abe in the square, and that's because of his whole awkward run-in with JJ the other night during the blackout. So Abe apologizes, and they're talking about him, whether or not it was a good reason for him to be in Salem, too much bad memories. So he didn't get into detail about what really happened with him and JJ, but he's just wondering if it was a good reason for him to come back. So Abe is just telling him how proud he is of him, and that his mother would be proud. And they have a moment about how Thea looks up to her all the time and wonder if she's really proud of the decisions that he's making and the person he's turning out to be, right? So it wasn't really much of a conversation with these two. So let's move forward. So Holly and Ari have moved into their new room, and Holly's not really feeling it because it's far away from everything, and then Tate lives down the hallway. So anyways, she's also upset about the whole thing with the disciplinary committee. She's thinking maybe she's gonna be expelled, but maybe it's a good reason because of what happened with Tate. So Ari's just trying to just be a source of positivity, and let's just say Ari has definitely come a far away, because you remember when she just came onto soap opera, she was like a little brat, and how she was talking to her mother and how she was behaving. Like, she kind of grew on me, honestly. And she's just saying to Holly that it's not the end of the world, and that there's better guys out there other than Tate, and you deserve better, and she's a queen. And Holly doesn't believe that, because she feels as if she's just been screwing up. And I remind her that Tate was the one who cheated and did what he did, and just move on, right? It would be better. Give the university a chance. So anyways, she gets a new phone, and it seemed to be backed up, but it wasn't backed up, so it's a completely new phone. And she's seen some messages coming in from Johnny, so she's wondering, like, what's going on. At some point, she returns the call, and she asks if it's about the paper, but Johnny tells her, I'd rather speak about it in person. Let's talk more, right? So Tate and Sophia are speaking outside of the pub, and you know they talk, I guess they talk more about what happened with Holly, I guess. At some point Tate leaves, and Sophia is making this commotion about, oh my god. So he asked her what's going on, so she said nothing. So he said it doesn't seem like nothing was going on. So she said that there's been rumors, she heard from a friend that Holly is involved with a university professor, and she said the name Johnny Demare. So he said, it doesn't seem like Holly would do that, because Holly got over that crush eons ago. And that's my cousin. I don't think that she would move on with somebody, like that. He's happily married. So she said, yeah, that's what I said too. So maybe it's just gossip. Maybe Holly started it to just get you jealous. So he doesn't feel like she would do that, right? So, anyways, before she goes into the pub, he asks again about, her and him. How did Holly find out about them kissing? So she says she doesn't know because she didn't say it herself to Holly, but then she remembers talking to Ari, so maybe Ari was the one who did it. So he said, at the end of the day, I can't blame nobody but myself. I'm the one who did this, and I feel bad for using you to get information. So, anyways, he still asks her, if she's been truthful about what happened to their baby, and she said she has said it a million times that everything's cool. So she goes back into the pub and he follows her and he said that, look, I'm sorry about earlier, but I just really want to know if everything is truthful, as you said. So she said, I really don't want to talk about it no more. I actually did what I had to do for our baby, so don't worry about it. So he said he apologized and he is not going to bring it up no more. And at some point, Holly did walk up on them at the pub, looking through the window and see them together and, being close. This point, she's just over it. She wants to move to France and never come back to see them again. And I understand she should have chosen that place because date is really not worth it. So, anyways, we go to JJ and Jada, right? So JJ wants to turn in his badge because he had this whole run-in with Theo and it was very uncomfortable, and he feels as if he is questioning himself as a detective, if he's in the right field, if he is going to know how to operate professionally, right? So Jada said that, did you use any excessive force on him? Were you prejudiced towards him because of the color of his skin? So he said no, like he wasn't listening to me at first, and then I was more direct with him the second time, but I didn't pull my weapon or anything like that, and I did not, use prejudice towards him because I was like that with everybody else during the blackout as well, right? So she said, then if that's the case, then you operated by the law, by the book, professionally. So I don't think you should resign, right? I feel like you need to talk to the police station, psychiatrist, take some days off, figure this thing out, and then we can look back into this resignation thing, right? So JJ agrees to do that, but in the back of his head he's wondering, like, does he really need to be on the force? Is Theo right and all that? And I'm saying, like, you wouldn't have taken this job if you knew you were qualified to do that and you were ready to come back on the force. Like, Theo needs to go somewhere with that, or just never come back to Salem, honestly. So speaking of Theo and Ari, that was something that I was not expecting. So Theo sees Ari with some, I guess, some dry cleaning. So he offers to help her. So for exchange for helping her, she actually, buys him coffee and is like, how do I pay? She said, no, thanks for helping me out. So they struck up a conversation, I guess, about university life and, you know, I don't know why Ari always does this. She always meets these cute guys and never get their name initially, right? Until afterwards. And the thing is, she didn't even get the first and last name, just the first name, because she did tell him that, she would like to see him again, and he also feels the same way. So it seems as if they struck up butterflies between the two of them, and I'm kind of here for them. I think they have a little bit of chemistry, so I'm all for Ari and Theo hooking up, honestly. So Chanel and Johnny are at their house and they're trying to figure out, like, why Holly would do this, because Holly has been over him all this time and she's been with Tate. Like, it just doesn't add up, and Chanel is just angry about the whole situation, right? Because of how it was sent, the pictures, and then it affected their whole adoption process. So Johnny's just happy that she believes him, and she said, look, I definitely believe you. I just really want to get down to the bottom of this, right? So that is when Holly comes over, because remember they had a phone call earlier about her coming over. So she comes over and she is there like, is this about the paper? So he said, no, it's not really about the paper. He asked how she's doing first, and then she said, she's okay. She's just really disappointed in herself, ashamed, for knocking the candle over into the garbage bin and causing the fire. And they already know about that. They just want to get to the point, like, how come he send the pictures to his phone? So she said, "What picture?" So she told him that she got a new phone. It is backed up, but she doesn't have any pictures. So he shows her the picture of his phone, and she's like, "How does it get there?" Because she knows that's her clothing, but she doesn't remember sending it to him. So she said she was wasted. So maybe she has sent it to Tate. She wanted to send it to Tate, but by accident it went to Johnny's phone since Johnny was the last person she spoke to. But she can't remember exactly what happened, detail after detail. And then she's saying, it's just too much between this and the whole fire thing and then Tate. So she ended up leaving before they could get any more straight answers out of her or what could possibly happen, because they asked her about the letter. She wrote the letter. She doesn't even know what they're talking about, and she's sorry about everything, right? So Chanel and Johnny are wondering, like, who could really be behind this, because they finally believe that Holly is definitely not the one who wrote the letter. It just doesn't add up, And then she was at the hospital while those pictures were being sent to his phone, so the timeline doesn't add up. They need to figure out who is really behind it. But like I said, comment below you guys your thoughts on today's episode. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. I am still in mama mode, so whenever you don't hear from me doing these recaps, you already know. I'll see you guys